Pranam to all devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Shanai Shanairuparamit Buddhya Dhritigrahitaya Atmasamstam Manah Kritva Nakinchidapi Chintayet.
Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else.
Text 26. Yato yato nischarati manaschanchalamasstiram tatastato niyamaitat atmaneva vasham nayet.
From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self.
Text 27. Prashantamanasam henam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahmabhutamakalmasham.
The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reactions to past deeds.
Text 28. Yunjanevam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashaha sukhena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukhamashnute.
Thus, the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord.
Text 29. Sarvabhutastamatmanam sarvabhutani chatmani yikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha.
A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere.
Text 30. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sacha me na pranashyati.
For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me.
Sorry, I lost some. Text 31. Sarvabhuta stitam yo mam bhajate kattvamastitaha sarvata vartamanopi sayogi mayi vartate.
Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Supersoul, knowing that I and the Supersoul are one, remains always in me, in all circumstances.
Text 32. Atmapammena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjuna sukham va yadi va dukkam sayogi paramo mataha.
He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna.
33. Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogastvaya proktaha sammyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatva sthitim stiram.
Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady.
Text 34. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram.
The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think it is more difficult than controlling the wind.
Text 35. Sri Bhagavan uvacha asamshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grahyate.
Lord Shri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment.
Text 36. असंशयतात्मना योगो दुष्टाप इति मे मतिः वश्यात्मना तु यतता शक्यो वाप्तुमुपायतः.
For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion.
Text 37. Arjuna uvacha ayati shraddhayopeto yoga chalitamanasaः अप्राप्य योग संसिद्धिं काम गतिं कृष्ण गच्छति.
Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who is the beginning, takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later decides due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection is mysticism.
Text 38. कच्चिन्नो भय विभ्रष्टा चिन्ना भ्रमिव नश्यति अप्रतिष्ठो महाबाहो विमूढो ब्रह्मणपति.
O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere?
Text 39. एतन्मे संशयं कृष्ण चेतुमर्हस्य शेषतः त्वदन्य संशयस्यास्य चेता नाभ्युपपद्यते.
This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt.
Text 40. श्रीभगवानुवाच पार्थनैवेह नामुत्र विनाशस्तस्य विद्यते न हि कल्याणकृत् कश्चित् दुर्गतिं तात गच्छति.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Son of Pritha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil.
Text 41. प्राप्य पुण्यकृतां लोकान् उषित्वा शाश्वती समाः शुचीनां श्रीमतां गेहे योगभ्रष्टोऽभिजायते.
The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy.
Text 42. अथवा योगिनामेव कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरं लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्.
Or, if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom, certainly such a birth is rare in this world.
643. तत्र तं बुद्धिसंयोगं लभते पौर्वदैहिकं यतते च ततो भूयः संसिद्धौ कुरु नन्दन.
On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru.
Text 44. पूर्वाभ्यासेन तेनैव ह्रियते हवशोऽपि सः जिज्ञासुरपि योगस्य शब्दब्रह्माति वर्तते.
By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures.
Text 45. प्रयत्नाद्यतमानस्तु योगी संशुद्धकिल्बिषः अनेकजन्म संसिद्धा ततो याति परां गतिम्.
And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, Then ultimately achieving perfection after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal.
646. Tapasibhyodiko yogi, jnanibhyopi matodikaha, karmibhyaschadiko yogi, tasmad yogi bhavarjuna.
A yogi is greater than the aesthetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruity worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances be a yogi.
Text 47. Yoginamapi sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yuktatamo mataha.
And of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion.
Om Tassaditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Supanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Atma Samyama Yogo Nama Shashtodhyayaha. Thank you very much. Please forgive
Hare
me.
Krishna.
for
Thank you
mistakes.
so much. Very, very nice. Puja Mataji very nicely
Thank you.
recited the English. And Prabhavati Sachi Mataji, excellent Sanskrit, very fluent and absolutely spotless. Just Prabhavati Mataji, just one question. Were you reading? Which language were you reading from?
My own language, Prabhuji, Kannada.
Yeah, that's right. That shows. That's why. See, because when you read English, sometimes everybody gets a little bit confused, including myself, get confused with the R's and Rs and everything. But when you're reading in either Sanskrit or your own language, then those pronunciations come out proper. So well done. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you. We'll just stop the share and share my other file. Okay, devotees, there we go. So we're now continuing our reading of this wonderful 6th chapter. Let me just reorganize my screen a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. Yeah. So we're more than halfway through this wonderful chapter, chapter 6, which is called Dhyana Yoga. And as usual, we'll go through the review of the shlokas covered so far. So we've got chapter text 6.1 to 6.4. Krishna spoke about advancing in yoga through detached work. Then 5 to 9, the Yoga Rudra stage, which means basically giving up work. So the whole, everything is being built up more and more. Then 10 to 32, further stages of the practice of yoga. And Ashtanga Yoga was described in great detail here. And now I think this is the current session now is talking about necessity of controlling the turbulent mind. So very important section, this 32 to 36, because this is what all of us struggle with, controlling the mind. So very, very important instructions here. Today's verse is 35. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, text 35. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashamshayam Mahabaho Manodur Nigraham Chalam Apyashrena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha grihyate. Lord Shri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, It is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and detachment. So this is Krishna's answer to the verse yesterday, Chanchalam Himana Krishna Pramati Balavadudam. That Arjuna is saying, complaining the mind is very difficult to control. It's restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, he's saying. And he's saying that he thinks that it's easier probably to control the wind than the mind. So Krishna is now giving him this reply. Let's see what Prabhupada explains in the purport. I've got 2 pages. I've got the purport divided over 2 pages. And let's see who we can see. Okay, so there's Madhuri Mataji, if you can do the first page. And then Neelam Mataji for the second page, please. You can unmute yourself. Okay, Madhuri Mataji doesn't seem to be able to unmute. So, Hema Rupini Mataji, are you able to unmute yourself?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Please stand with accept my humble obeisances. Yes, I'm reading. The difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing on the mind, on the super soul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional services to the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. Anything else? Hare Krishna. Sorry, I can't hear.
You're muted, bro.
Sorry, I didn't realize I muted myself. Neelam Mataji, are you there?
It's okay, Prabhuji. I've read that much.
Okay. Yeah, that's very good. Thank you so much, Emma Rupini Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, okay, let's see who I can see. Dilip. Is Dilip there? Okay. Let's see who's there. Okay, Ilaben, are you there, Ilaben? A lot of shy people today, sounds like. Okay, Kanta Mataji. Kanta Sharma Mataji. Oh, 11. Okay, 11 is there. Fine. 11.
Oh, yeah,
11,
yeah.
thank you. Can you read the page 2, please?
Okay. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Parashna Bhuva, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, By discharge of the devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from the material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna. Oh. And offered to Krishna is appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. Sorry.
No problem, no problem. Thank you, Eleven. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavasya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Mitam Tam Sujivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Radhika Shri Vishakhan Smritasya. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada ki jai. So important instructions from Krishna, and Prabhupada's given us some nice points in the purport. So we'll, as usual, we'll churn some of the main points from the purport. So Prabhupada starts with saying the difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind as expressed by Arjuna is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. So you see, Krishna, he's showing some empathy here to Arjuna. He didn't say, no, you can do it for sure. You know, why are you being so meek and like that. So he actually, he shows them, yeah, of course, he says it is difficult, but he says it's not impossible. And he's using the address for Arjuna as Mahabaho. It's especially for you, Mahabaho. Mahabaho means Almighty Armed One. So Krishna, by using that address for Arjuna, is hinting that you are so powerful. You have defeated so many Maharathis in battle. So why can't you defeat your mind? Why can't you control it? That's one meaning. The other meaning is that you can do this because you have become powerful. You have become a Maharathi. You become a Sarva Shrestha Dhanurdhara, as he's told. He said, right? So he's the topmost. What you call it? He's the topmost in archery in the whole world at that time. So if you've done that, not just by waking up one morning and becoming that, but you actually practiced. So again, similarly, by using the same technique of practice, you practice same thing. You practice and you also detach. As we know the story of Arjun. Arjun used to practice sometimes in the middle of the night. He used to give up his sleep. That's why one of his names is, what is his name as somebody who controls sleep? Anybody know?
Is it Gudakesha?
Gurakesha, yes, Palika Mataji. Gurakesha. His name is Gurakesha because he actually conquered sleep. So in one sense, he showed detachment from the need to sleep there, and he practiced all night. So this way he became perfect. So you see that deep meaning in that word Mahabaho. That you've done all this, so you can easily do this as well. Well, not easily, he says in the beginning, it's difficult, but it can be done. That's the point he's making. So Krishna says also, he's hinted already in I think 11th to the 14th verses in this chapter, and he's recommended in like strict, secluded meditation is mentioned, sitting facing a particular way, sitting on kusa grass, sitting and having your concentration on the tip of your nose, closing your eyes, and all those things is explained. But of course, those things are not possible for us this day and age. So then, what is the practice for this day and age? Is recommending in the purport?
Krishna consciousness.
Krishna consciousness, yes, but in more specifically, Rupa,
Devotional service.
yes, but more specifically, it was Navda Bhakti. He mentions those 9 processes, right? So that's what he's recommending. Basically, both your answers are correct. The Krishna consciousness, in Krishna consciousness, we practice all these 9 processes of bhakti, and devotional service also means those 9 processes. So your answers are correct. So Navda Bhakti is mentioned by who in the Bhagavatam?
Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj.
Prahlad Maharaj. Okay. So Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto. Mute somebody who's. Okay, the echoes coming through. Yeah, 7th canto, chapter 5, text 23 and 24. Very famous verse. Anybody know this verse? Or 2 verses.
Shravanam Kirtanam.
Go on, yes.
Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Prata Sevanam Archanam Dasyam Atmanivedanam. I think 2 missing.
Yeah, okay, there you go. So here is.
Sorry.
So Prahlad Uvacha, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Pada Sevanam, Archanam Mandanam Dasyam, Sakhyam Atmanivedanam, Iti Pumsharpita Vishnu, Bhaktische Navalakshana, Kriyeta Bhagavat Yadda, Tanmanyeditam Uttamam. So Prahlad Maharaj is giving instruction to his schoolmates, children. But you can imagine how deep the knowledge, Prahlad Maharaj's knowledge. He heard Narad Muni whilst he was in the womb of his mother. And he already had all this gyan. So he's saying here that this is the practice. And then in last line said, Tan mane aditam uttamam. So this is, aditam means knowledge or study. But this is the highest kind of study, uttamam. So this is the Navda Bhakti. We all know Shravanam. We know what Shravanam means hearing. Kirtanam means is either Kirtan can be singing or even giving a class is Kirtanam. But not just anything, any subject, but Vishnu. Smaranam is remembering. Pada Sevanam is worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord. Arshanam is Archanam is offering prayers. Vandanam is bowing down. Dasyam is serving the Lord. Sakhyam is friendship. Atmanivedam is surrendering our very self to the Lord. Now each one of these.
Archanam, deity worship.
Archanam is deity worship. Yeah, Archanam deity worship, and Vandanam is prayers. Correct. Yes. Thank you, Valika Mataji.
Hare
Now,
Krishna.
each one of these processes has a personality that that we are reminded of. Someone who actually perfected their spiritual life by these processes. So, who's a personality who's attached to Shravanam?
Parikshit Maharaj.
Yes, Parikshit Maharaj, because he during the last days of his life, he perfected his life by hearing. And who was doing the kirtanam at that time?
Shukamdev.
Shukdev. Shukdev Goswami is the personality for kirtanam, exactly. And then Smaranam, who is the personality for Smaranam?
Prahlad Maharaj.
Yes, Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj was thinking of Krishna all the time. All the time. You know the story there. Pada Sevanam?
Lakshmi ji.
Yes, Lakshmi ji, well done. And then Archanam?
Prathu Maharaj.
Prithu Maharaj, perfect. Vandanam?
Vandanam Akrura.
Akrura, excellent. And Dasyam?
Hanumanji.
Hanuman.
Exactly. Sakyam?
Arjuna.
Arjuna.
Perfect. Atma Nivedanam?
Bali Maharaj.
Bali Maharaj.
Exactly. These are so when we listen to the pastimes of these personalities, we can get strong affiliation with these qualities, and we can learn from their pastimes how we can practice to also develop these qualities in us. So basically, yeah. So anybody who dedicates their life to the process of these nine, or Prabhupada sometimes says even one of them, if you can perfect, then you have made your when we have made our human life successful. So these processes, basically by engaging ourselves in these processes, what it does is it takes our mind away from enjoyment. So that is Vairagya. Here Krishna is saying Vairagya, and so basically detachment and practice and abhyas, right? So here, by following this process, we take our mind away from enchantment, which is Vairagya, and it brings us to the meditation of Krishna. So that is abhyasa. Moving on to the next point. So the first and foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. So hearing, we have this all the time expressed to us, that hearing is the first thing. Of course, first of all, we need some shraddha, but once we have some shraddha, then only by hearing we can actually progress our life. So that's the beginning. It's the most powerful, as Prabhupada said, the foremost of all the processes here. If we're doing lots of service, if we're doing lots of other things to do with devotional service, but if you're not hearing, then our sadhana will be weak. So we must always have hearing as part of our daily practice. Srila Prabhupada has given us the perfect arrangement for this. Every day in the morning in the temple, there is the Bhagavatam class. That's all over the world. In every ISKCON temple of the world, we have the same process. Every day in the morning, they will have Bhagavatam class, in the evening, Bhagavad Gita class. So, and fortunately now we have the internet. So even if we're not able to go to the temple every day in the morning and evening, we can log in online and listen to these classes. Apart from that, we have so many other classes on the net from so many different devotees. So we have so much opportunity now. In the previous days, you couldn't have this kind of hearing ability. You would be able to hear only when you went to the temple or you went to a sangha in somebody's home. But now, the world is your oyster. You can just click on YouTube, click on your favorite speaker, and there is the whole list of classes there, separated by different topics. And one very fortunate thing for us is that Srila Prabhupada's early disciples, starting from 1966, they started to record Prabhupada's classes. That's amazing foresight, right? Because at that time, 1966 was only a few months into the movement, right? And people would have probably thought, I'm not sure how long this thing will last or whatever, but people at that time, very clever people, realized that these whatever words coming out of Prabhupada's lotus mouth are going to be very valuable in the future. So not only were they recorded, imagine in those days the equipment was very basic. They just had a basic tape recorder, a reel-to-reel tape recorder. But you hear the quality of those classes, phenomenal, amazing quality, very crystal clear sound coming through there. So we're very, very fortunate we've got that very high quality recording of Srila Prabhupada's classes. And they are so, so potent. So one must always, at least half an hour a day, spend some time listening to Srila Prabhupada. I know there are so many good speakers and so many entertaining speakers in our movement now, but we must find time to listen to Srila Prabhupada daily, at least half an hour. His classes, if you look at all his classes, mostly you will find they're around half an hour, 40 minutes. So it's like not so long. So you can always find that time and listen to Srila Prabhupada. That will give a lot of spiritual impetus for us.
It's also Srila Prabhupada's delivery, the potency within him, it's 100%. So that's why it will change a lot of heart. I mean, if I preach, it not go to inside heart of somebody, but Srila Prabhupada's preaching is so powerful, so potent. That's why it will, I think you will have more impact on people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is my understanding. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, no, thank you, Parikamata. Yeah, absolutely. This is why we are saying that we must always find time to listen to Prabhupada, because this is where you get the most nectar and the most mercy. You can see every word is loaded with potency. So that's very important. So again, we're very, very fortunate. So when we go on the internet, we need to be a bit careful, because there's so much there on the internet. And it's very easy to start listening to so many different people. So one thing I would suggest devotees, they try and stick to parampara. We've all decided that we're going to now follow Krishna consciousness. So try and follow speakers who are in ISKCON. That way, we're not saying that ISKCON is exclusive for knowledge, but the point is, when we listen to other people outside, sometimes it's a chance, because people are speaking from different angles, and different sampradayas have their different priorities of what messages they want to put across. So there is some danger of us losing our way and getting confused. So try, just my humble advice to everybody, just try and stick to the speakers of ISKCON. We got so much material there. We don't need to go outside. And then as Parika Mataji said, because of Prabhupada's instructions, the message is always pure here. There's no other sort of motive anybody has got to give you information that is not very much sticking to Shastra. Sanatana Goswami mentions, especially listening to our Vaishnavas, speaking to people who are not Vaishnavas. Sanatana Goswami says, Vaishnava mukhod girnam uttam harikathamitam shravanam naiva kartavyam sarposhistam yathapaya. So it says, a Vaishnava means somebody who's not a Vaishnava. Mukhot girnam, so words coming from his mouth. Uttam harikatham, even if they are topics of the Lord. Sometimes we listen to somebody, maybe a professional katha speaker, and he's speaking from Bhagavatam. So we think, wow, what's wrong? We can just listen to this. But it says here that even if it's harikatha, don't shravanam naiva kartavyam, don't listen to it and don't follow it. Why? Because it's like sarpochestam yathapaya. It's like a snake. Although the knowledge itself is pure like milk, but because it is touched by, just like milk, when touched by the tongue of a serpent, turns into poison. Similarly, when even words of Bhagavatam coming from an Vaishnava could be, no, I'm not saying always, but could be poisonous. It could mislead us. So very, very important. So moving on. So here, this is Bhagavatam verse, which again emphasizes about hearing. Shunmatam Swakatha Krishna, Punya Shamana Kirtana, I know this verse, but I'm getting confused now. Hridyantasto Bhadrani, Vidunoti Shuhit Satam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment for the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtues when properly heard and chanted. So you see, the purity is there. And because of that, we have the highest benefit. It does both. Here we're saying that we want detachment from material enjoyment and attachment to Krishna. So this verse explaining, just like the verse we are studying today, that both of these things are done by hearing faithfully. Truthful devotee means somebody who's sincere, sincerely hearing. And at the end it says heard and chanted, which means just hearing is fine. Of course, if we hear that, it's very, very good. But if we can hear and also explain to somebody, we don't have to be somebody sitting on the vyasas and explaining. But whatever we've heard, if we repeat it to somebody, even our husband, our wife, our children, whatever, if we just repeat what we've heard, what we understood, it becomes firm in our own minds. So that knowledge starts to become realized. Moving on. Prabhupada is saying, by detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. So there's a couple of verses, actually there's many, but maybe about 100 verses that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya compiled as soon as he actually got converted himself, when he realized that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there's 2 verses from there, and one of them that I want to quote here, it is actually called the necklace verse. All the devotees should actually wear this verse like a necklace, meaning we should all memorize this and recite it regularly. And this verse is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, 6th chapter 254. Anybody know this verse about Vairagya Vidya? So a lot of us don't have this necklace. So here it is. We should try and make a note of this number, this verse number, and try and memorize it. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shiksha Tameka Purusham Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari Kripam Buddhi Yastamaham Papadye. Let me take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who has descended in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach us the real knowledge, to teach us real knowledge, his devotional service, and detachment from whatever does not foster Krishna consciousness. He is descended because he is an ocean of transcendental mercy. Let me surrender unto his lotus feet. So, Vairagya Vidya, so this knowledge about detachment, it is coming to us from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he has given us so many verses, so much knowledge, so that will help us detach, to practice detachment, which is one of the things that we need to do according to this verse from Krishna. So moving on again. Prabhupada says this is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Parishanubhava, or spiritual satisfaction. So beautiful verse in the 11th canto, 2nd chapter of the Bhagavatam, text 42. This is a discussion between King Nimi and Navayogendras. And Navayogendras Kavi is saying, one of the Navayogendras was Kavi, and he's saying, Bhakti Parishanubhava Viraktir Anyata Chaisha Trika Eka Kala Papadyam Manasa Yathansdaha Shus Tushti Pushti Kshud Apaya Nu Ghasam. Devotion direct experience of Supreme Personality Godhead, and detachment from other things. These three occur simultaneously for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the same way that pleasure, nourishment, and relief from hunger come simultaneously and increasingly with each bite for a person engaged in eating. It's a very nice thing here, right? So these three things happen automatically as we get deeper into devotional service. Our devotion, of course, increases. Our experience, direct experience of the Supreme Lord increases, and the detachment from other things comes automatically. So, tushti, pushti, and kshud apaya. Tushti means satisfaction, pushti means nourishment, and kshud apaya, that means detachment. Actually, in real terms, kshud apaya means reduction of hunger. But in our case, it's basically, that means we're not hungry for sense gratification. That's kind of detachment. Prabhupada gives a nice long purport, but I've just taken some excerpts from there. Srila Jiva Goswami has explained this analogy as follows. Bhakti or devotion may be compared to tushti, satisfaction, because they both take the form of pleasure. Parishanu Bhava, experience of the Supreme Lord, and pushti, nourishment, are analogous because both sustain one's life. Finally, virakti, detachment, and kshud apaya, cessation of hunger, may be compared because both free one from further hankering so that one may experience shanti or peace. The purport continues. A person who is eating not only becomes uninterested in other activities, but increasingly becomes uninterested in the food itself, according to his satisfaction. So as we're getting full up, we then don't want any more food. But on the other hand, Prabhupada is saying, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, although one who is experiencing the blissful personality of Godhead, Krishna, one who is experiencing the blissful personality of Godhead, Krishna, becomes uninterested in anything other than Krishna, his attachment to Krishna increases at every moment. See, unlike food that we eat and we get satisfied, we don't want any more, but this, we are not satiated. So our attachment with Krishna increases every moment. Therefore, Prabhupada continues, it is to be understood that the transcendental beauty and qualities of Krishna, qualities of the Supreme Lord, are not material, since one never becomes satiated by relishing the bliss of the Supreme Lord. So, one more slide I have here. Hearing of the transcendental activities, Prabhupada says, of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind. And eating food stuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. So just as a doctor, if you have any ailment, if you, I'm just thinking maybe you have ulcer in your stomach, the doctor will give you medicine, and at the same time he will adjust your diet. He will say, okay, don't have very spicy food, etc., etc. So if for us, so these three processes are there. We have our diet by eating food which has been offered to Krishna, and of course we have our nourishment from hearing about Krishna. So the verse in 3rd chapter, which speaks about how the devotees are released from all kinds of sins. Anybody know this verse? 3:13. Yajya shishta sino santo muchyante sarvakil bisai bhujante te vagam papa ye pachanti atmakaranat. It says the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. Prabhupada gives very powerful points in the purport here. The santas being always in the santas being always in a compact of love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada is using this language, compact of love. which is old English. Govinda, the giver of all pleasure, or Mukunda, the giver of liberation, or Krishna, the all-attractive person, cannot accept anything without first offering it to the Supreme Person. Therefore, such devotees always perform yajna in different modes of devotional service, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, etc. And these performances of yajnas keep them always aloof from all kinds of contamination of sinful association in the material world. Others who prepare food for self or sense gratification are not only thieves, but are the eaters of all kinds of sins. So devotees, a summary of this particular text is that the process of abhyas and vairagya, they're necessary, and they are generic for all paths, not just all paths of devotion, different sampradayas, whatever you may have, or any form of religion would need these two things. But also, whether you want to achieve anything materially, we need to do all these two things. So some substance is that these two processes of vairagya and abhyasa are very, very important. So I will stop here. I will now request any questions, any realizations, corrections, etc., etc.
Thank you, Hare Krishna Mukundari Prabhu. Very nice class. You sort of put together so nicely, taking different verses together to make it more, like elaborated, much more than that's what we need. You are connecting to so many verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So make it as a holistic way, very nicely presented. I really like the way you have done. So I really appreciate. Also, I have a little question. The Nava Yogendra,
Yes.
they are the sons of Rishabdev?
No, Rishabdev's sons are, hold on a second, Nava Yogendras are, okay.
As I understand.
Yes, it is possible. I have lost my
because
mind.
they're the one who spoke in King Nimi's.
Okay, yes. So then you're right. There must be it. Yes, I've lost a link in my mind.
Navajogendra, they're Rishabdev's son, because they're the one, because Krishna wanted Vasdev to hear about Krishna from these Navajogendra in Nimi's King Nimi's palace, isn't it?
Yes.
What my understanding from
That's
Krishna.
right. Yes, thank you. Thank you for pointing out, Parikamatas. Yes, and you mentioned about the verses. Well, what I like to do is, especially when I am preparing a class or even some subject I'm trying to learn, I like to link them to verses, because those become your pramanas. Because I can speak for half an hour from what I've heard, but if I'm able to connect it and I'm able to back up what I'm saying with a verse from Shastra, then it just makes the whole point very strong. That's
very
the only
strong.
reason I like to do that.
Yes, that's what I also understand.
And that's one reason why we should all learn verses. We should know at least where these verses are. Even if you can't memorize them, we should know where they are in scripture, right? We know that Krishna spoke about something about prasadam in the 3rd chapter. Let me quickly have a look at that, and then you can pick it up and then quote it, like that.
So, yeah, that's true. Because if it is done from the Shastra, it makes a strong point. That yes, I'm not just saying it, I'm sort of backing up with the Shastra from the scripture.
That's it, yes. This is
That's
what my Guru Maharaj, Paticharu Maharaj, very early on, this is the instruction I heard from him, that whatever you say, you try and back it up with Shastra. That way it makes your point very, very stable.
Very nice.
So that's why thanks.
Other day I was listening to Antaranga Prabhu also. I really like the way, like Arjuna first says, no, I don't want to fight. I want to go to this forest. I want to just do meditation. But then Krishna really made you understand you are talking about meditation. Actually, that's why he spoke about Dhyana Yoga. Actually, meditation in this age is not really appropriate. Then Arjuna understood that, it is very difficult. So I like that, this way we expand ourselves a little bit more.
Yes.
So now we know why Krishna spoke certain, the Bhagavad Gita certain way, not just this one is first, this one is second. He just, because to answer Arjun's question, Arjun is asking, from us, because because Arjuna is a pure devotee, so he doesn't need anything. But for us, he asked question, and Krishna also categorically, he step by step he made us understand through Arjuna. So that's what makes it more sense. Actually, this is my understanding.
Yeah, thank you so much, Palika Mataji. Exactly. There's a message. There's a chat here from Surabhi Mataji. Please. Pranam, songs and dance give enjoyment, and those who enjoy are called foolish by text. 1 second, I lost it. Yeah. How is this song and dance different? Is it about Lord or more? Trying to understand the crux of the thought process. Okay, so songs and dance give enjoyment. Yes, of course, song and dance give enjoyment. That's true. Even mundane song and dance, we all know, give enjoyment. So we can dance either in the ballroom or we can dance in somebody's party to a Bangla song. They all give us enjoyment. But that is material enjoyment, which will last, just for that short time that we are dancing. But when we are dancing, when we are singing the Lord's kirtan and we are dancing, and that, of course, is an enjoyment at a very, very different level. That's a spiritual enjoyment. That is why it is a lot more satisfying.
Okay, thank you, Pranam. But how is it? I mean, the actions are the same and the happiness you get is the same. Like, song is a song is a song. I mean, I'm trying to understand the thought process actually.
Yeah.
When you sing a song, when you hear a song, it calms your mind. Either it is a kirtan or it is a simple song that you like. It just calms your mind. That's it. The mind is calm.
Yes, you're right. The point is,
understand that one section is foolish and the other is I'm trying to understand the thought process.
Very, very simple, Surabhi Mataji. One is going to take you away from Krishna. The other one is going to take you close to Krishna. Right? One is going to, if you're singing a Bhangra song, that's got nothing to do with Krishna, and that's going to take you into material feelings, or generally speaking, these songs are about love and all these kind of songs, right? So these will take you into mundane thought process, whereas a kirtan will keep you in the spiritual context. So there's a vast difference, and it's like something like one would say that you try and see. You can sing Mahamantra. We used to gather in the temple on the New Year's night, 31st of December, and from 7 p.m. in the evening to about 12:30, 1 o'clock at night, we would all be immersed in the Mahamantra. No other songs. We're not singing any bhajans. We're not singing anything else. It's just the Mahamantra continuously.
Different tunes, yeah, okay.
Right? But Surabhi Mataji, if I was singing a Bhangra to you, I don't know any of the other songs, but if I sang to you for 5 hours the same song, would you like it?
No.
Exactly. So that's the difference. That's the difference. You see each one of those devotees in the temple room, and they are mostly young people. Not we can say, okay, oldies, they've done it, they've been there, they've got nothing left in their life, so they don't want to listen to all these songs that they can sit and do bhajan. No. Mostly in that evening used to be 90% youngsters, and they used to be jumping up and down, dancing, singing, and
but the dance also gives you a high. Actually, it's a dance always gives you a high. A high is a high. I mean, an enjoyment is an enjoyment, senses are senses. So I'm just trying to understand. Like you jump up and down in one song, and you jump up and down in the same song in some ABC song. So how is it you're just jumping up and down? So actions are the same. So what about the thought process? I mean, it's just calming our mind.
First of all, the Lord is pleased when you dance for him. So on one side, you're pleasing the Lord. On the other side, you're pleasing your senses. which do you think would give you more potency in terms of spirit? We talk about spiritual life. If you just want to talk about having just enjoyment and nothing else, then we can do what we like. But if we are all trying to make progress in spiritual life, then we want to please the Lord, isn't it?
Yes.
So if you dance,
trying to understand
if you
the
dance in
actions,
Kirtan, the Lord,
actions are the same. So is it
actions
that?
are the same, but one action is pleasing the Lord, the other is not.
Okay.
That's the point, right? When you're dancing for Krishna. See, when we're dancing in Kirtan, we're not dancing for ourselves. We're dancing because we're happy, and we dance for Krishna. So Krishna is happy by seeing us dance to his Kirtan. So one is pleasing Krishna and one is pleasing our senses. So it's very straightforward which one is higher, which one will be more lasting for us.
Trying to understand, because the actions.
One is for the soul, one is just for the mind.
But all the songs are for the soul. I mean,
no.
Trying to understand from that point of view,
No, all the songs are not for the soul.
Point of view.
Not really. If you think about a mundane love song, it's not for the soul. We think, sometimes we say, oh, it touched my soul. It doesn't actually. Soul is spiritual. The soul has nothing to do with anything material, right? So the only thing that will touch the soul is spiritual things. The spiritual things is kirtan. So kirtan, dancing on spiritual platform and spiritual consciousness, that is what will touch the soul. What the mundane songs will do is they'll give you some temporary material pleasure. That's all.
So do songs give you enjoyment? I mean, songs of the temple and the dance.
They do.
They give you enjoyment. I mean,
certainly they do, but that's a different enjoyment, isn't it?
That's what I'm trying to understand. What type of enjoyment is that?
It's spiritual enjoyment. That is spiritual enjoyment, and you need to. Have you ever come to this temple and danced? Or
no. I've just heard of songs once. I didn't go to temple.
Shri Balaji, all I can say is come and try.
I have come and I have heard songs, and I have heard songs.
If you come and try and see, and then you look at the faces of the people who are dancing, the devotees who are dancing. Look at the satisfaction on their face of their dance, right? And yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Thank you so much. I was just trying to understand, the thought process behind the actions. Thank you. Pranam.
Yes, Prabhu, you were saying?
Dandamat Pranam, Prabhuji, and my humble obeisances.
Oh, Prabhuji, haven't heard from you for a long time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I was saying eating the food offered to Krishna also satisfies our hunger, but eating a hog or a dog or even some people eat snails or worse things, that also satisfies hungers. So I think just through an analogy, I was trying to understand, it could be similar to that.
Yes, very similar. Absolutely, very similar. Because yes, both things will satisfy your hunger, but eating prasadam is doing a lot more to you. It's satisfying your soul. So these are this is things that we need to experience ourselves to know the difference. We all know, actually, one thing that we know, and I've heard that so many times, that people, when the visitors come to the temple and they have prasadam, they say, wow, it's so tasty. So prasadam in the temple is always tasty. Why? Because it's prasadam, because it's being offered to the Lord. Even at home, something you offer to the Lord will have that extra taste. So it is something subtle, but it is something to be experienced. And you certainly cannot put these two things on the same level. Absolutely not. Thank you, Survi Mataji.
Thank you. I'm trying to understand. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mukunda-Hari, Prabhu. I also want to add.
Quick one for you. Because
anything material, it will cover our spirit. But anything spiritual is enlighten the spirit, which is
exactly. Hemamata says songs are a material level, kirtans are transcendental levels, so feeling so much deeper from exactly. Thank you. Yes, not superficial. So I think Surbi Mataji understands what we're trying to say, but she's still obviously not convinced because maybe she hasn't experienced it. So my advice is experience it yourself, and then you will see the difference. It's chalk and cheese, actually, chalk and cheese. Because I've been both. I before I came to consciousness, I used to enjoy my our Valentine night sort of dinner parties and what you call it, dinner and dance parties, whatever. There are lots of them. And now actually I'm dancing for Krishna and I can see the difference completely. Chalk and cheese. Thank you. There's more. Yeah. Singing, okay, Bhavani Mata says, singing Maha Mantra takes you to a higher platform. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, very good. So great. Okay, a lot's been covered. Thank you all so much for your participation. And we shall stop now. It's almost 10 to 9, or past 10 to 9. So Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krita Sindhubhya
Patitane Pavane Be Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Naina Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Shobhana Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mukesh bhai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Umira Ben. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Kali, we'll do the recording tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow we'll do the recording. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Hare Krishna. Lila Purushottam Prabhu. Prabhu, you are muted. You are muted. You are muted, Prabhu. Ah.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't join earlier.
No problem. No, it's always nice. Just to have your presence on the screen is so nice.
Thank you for enlightening me and always encouraging me. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Health now? Health is well?
Thank you.
That's good.
Good to see you so fired up and enlightening the Sangha group of chat group is really inspiring. You know, to be able to join it every day is a unique example of sincere dedication, and they are relishing the lecture. That's why they are joining you every day almost. You know, it's amazing. It's a wonderful seva.
Thank you. Thank you. There are so many more senior speakers than me. I'm just a little cog in the wheel.
No. It's what matters is what comes from your heart. That's really what counts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
you
you
for
so
inspiring me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you. Thank you for your blessings.
You're already blessed. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna. Hitesh Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Jyoti Mataji. Thank you for recording classes every day. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare